Hello, this is Pauline Jennings. Welcome to Musician Talk. Today's guest on Musician Talk is Northfield native Mark Joseph. After being gifted a guitar at the age of 10, Mark was inspired and forever changed by witnessing the virtuosity of the King of Blues, B.B. King. The subsequent decades, 2,000-plus live shows, 5 full-length albums, and multiple EPs have permanently written Mark Joseph into the sonic history he was inspired by so many years ago. Let's find out more. Let's talk with Mark Joseph. Hi, Mark. How are you doing?
Hello, Pauline. How are you doing? I'm good. Good. Thanks for having me. Yeah.
Thank you for being here. I'm so excited to talk to you. So I want to first ask you a little bit about this shutdown, and COVID has been devastating for musicians. And I'm just curious as to how it's affected you and what you've been doing the last 6 months to cope.
Man, it's been a trip. Never experienced anything quite like it in my career. It started with straight up just hit the brakes completely. We were in full swing promoting the Musician and the Muse album. I just had completed a tour with Greg Koch, the world-renowned guitar player from Milwaukee.
Wow.
We did a single together, and then we had toured behind it. And then I played one last show, March 13th at the VFW in Northfield. And then that was it. It was like overnight. It was like, we're done.
Boom.
And so immediately my world changed right then and there. And I'm lucky and blessed to be able to have a great studio right down the street from my house called Rice Street Circus Studios. And that very next weekend, we started these series of streams, which we've called the Mark Joseph Special, Mm-hmm. And so for the next 2 months, from mid-March right to about late May, I started doing these streams, sometimes 2 or 3 of them a week. That was really what got me through that first little chunk. And so that was the first phase of it. And then about mid-May, as the weather turned, we decided to start booking what we call pop-up shows. So we started booking these shows where I just show up at your house and play in your backyard for you.
Oh,
so that's really what, between the streams and the pop-up shows, it's kind of what saved me. It really, I don't know what I would have done without those 2 avenues, really, and it's been a really tough deal even with those, but that's kind of what it's been. And then come the fall, it gotten kind of tight again, honestly. And I'm kind of just sort of scraping by right now. We're just doing the best we can on a few different fronts. And now I've segued into this Patreon program where we're inviting people to sort of come on a fan club basis and offering content direct to people through that. So yeah, it's been a trip.
Good for you for being flexible and coming up with different ways to keep playing. I want to right now talk about your musical journey. And I read that you got your first guitar at age 10. And I'm just wondering if you could take us from there on a short little journey through your musical career.
Sure, I'll try to keep it quick. I can get long-winded sometimes. My mom bought me a guitar. That's where it all started. She knew I needed to be playing music or potentially have that as a creative outlet. And I got the guitar. It took a couple years. I didn't really know what to do with it. Learned a couple songs here and there, but it was when I saw B.B. King is when it all changed for me. I saw B.B. King a few years after. I think I was 12. And it just blew my mind. I could see it, I could feel it, I could taste it. I knew that's what I wanted to do. And it was the breakthrough for me. First, it was watching him play, and it was a blues festival that he toured behind. So it was like 6 hours of blues. So it was like B.B. King, Jimmy Vaughn, Etta James, G. Smith, J. Dow's band. Like I was just like, mind was blown. It's one of those things with the stars sort of line, because it's like I was the right age to understand what was happening up there. I love music, of course. I have, because I grew up with music my whole life, from church to Grandpa Marv playing on the piano and Craig Wasner, Steve Jennings, people like that in my life who are always around. And so, it all happened right there at the right time. I had the guitar, I didn't know what to do with it. I was ready to sort of experience that. And it happened then. And I spent the next 2 years really learning how to play the blues. And obviously rock and roll and lots of other kinds of music, but it was the blues that really spoke to me. And I kept having these little mini breakthroughs with that. And so that's where it all started, is the blues for me on guitar. That is, the singing part started young, when I was younger in church,
Sure.
and then I developed my voice sort of as I got better at guitar. I realized I wanted to be able to sing. And so then I had to come back to the voice and really work on that to refine my singing voice.
Mark,
So,
how did you work on your voice?
you know, I remember when I first started taking it seriously, I sat down one day and I think I started recording myself singing along to records and listening back to it and just being like, oh man, that is not good. Not good. I knew it wasn't very good. And so that's where it started, even playing guitar, I play along the records. That's really how I've developed my style. I play by ear, and that's so really singing's been the same thing, but also singing with other really good singers. That kind of happened later. When I got into my late teens and early 20s, I started working with other artists who were really great singers, and I had to sort of refine my stuff as well. So on the musical journey tip, I played through high school a lot. We had lots of bands. Chad Johnson, I'm sure you know Chad. I taught Chad how to play guitar when we were in middle school. So we had our first band, back then, and we played at the upstairs room after school and stuff like that. And talent contests and anywhere we could play, we would play. My first real sort of bands were a blend of this group called Gates Avenue and Down Low. And Down Low really took it a ways. We did 2 full-length records with that band and over 1,000 shows throughout the country.
Wow.
So Down Low was sort of my first, serious group that did anything beyond sort of Northfield or the Twin Cities, And so I kind of cut my teeth there, and that band went on hiatus in about 2009. And so at which point I sort of pivoted my career. I learned a lot from being in a band per se as a democracy. I got kind of caught because our drummer sort of decided to take a hard left, if you will, in life. And then I was left sort of well, what are we supposed to do here? And so as I pivoted, I developed the Mark Joseph thing. So that's me, and I was like, well, I've done the democracy, approach with the band, although it was almost all my music. I had written almost everything for that group. So I felt like, okay, I need to sort of establish myself as a writer and a performer. So that's what I did. And I worked a lot with a lot of different artists. I spent 2009, 2010 really playing with as many different people as I could, making new connections, going on tour. I toured with this trumpet player named Willie Waldman for a couple of years there. And he's a free-form jazz guy. And so that was a really intense trial by fire sort of learning experience. So I went through that, and I met a lot of really great players during that time. John Avila, who's on the Musician and the Muse album, guys from the Humphreys McGee band, dudes from Mo, Tony Franklin, who played for Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd. I got to work with Tony a little bit. Dr. Herman Green from Memphis, who may he rest in peace. He just passed away last week, actually. Yeah, Herman was a jazz legend. He grew up with B.B. King, actually. So just, working with all kinds of different cats like that. And, then about 2010, the Big Woo invited me to join the band. So I did that. And, last 10 years has been working with Big Woo and then also producing Mark Joseph's music. So I've got 2 full-length Mark Joseph albums out and countless other collaborations and recordings. And we just put out a Big Woo record too in the end of 2018 called We Are Young, We Are Old. So that seemed long. That's the short version.
No, that was very well encapsulated. Actually, I'm very impressed.
Try to keep it moving for you.
Thank you. Well, a couple things there. Sounds like you've had a plethora of incredible mentors throughout your musical career that you've learned from. And did you have any formal teaching?
Yeah, I have a series of teachers. Never one that sort of stayed through the whole thing. No.
Sure.
It started with, my first real music teacher was Robert Swanson. I don't know if you remember him or not, but he, Robert was a great teacher. He was a very sweet man and just very, I don't know, he was great. He picked me to sing in a play back in 2nd grade, actually, the Around the World play. So that was the first time I was ever been on stage. I sang Georgia on My Mind as a duet with Jessica Crouch, this other girl from second grade, and it's, I mean, it was a big deal to sing in front of a sold out. It was the middle school auditorium, I think it was. So it's like,
Wow.
500 people. It's crazy.
Did you like it? Were you
Oh
bit?
yeah, I was thrilled by it. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it was like, I think there was 7 sold out performances, so I got to do it over and over and got comfortable
Wow.
in front of an audience, or at least as comfortable as you could in second grade, I guess. I don't know.
Right.
It was really scary at first, and then I sort of was thrilled by it. I couldn't get enough of it as time went on. I lived to play, and I still to this day I live to play for people. I mean, but as far as teachers go, I had Mark Freeman was a guitar teacher at Centerfield Music in Northfield. Mark was a great teacher. He really was instrumental in getting me over some of the first sort of hurdles playing guitar. So Mark, I was with him for a couple of years, and then Gary Heil, I believe it was. Gary worked with me for a little bit, and then I was kind of on guitar. That's kind of been it, other than like small lessons here and there. Like touring with Greg Cochran itself was like one big guitar lesson. I mean, every night you're standing next to this guy, and we collaborated every night. So it's like I learned so much from that, and I'm always learning everywhere I go, really. But those were some great teachers for sure. I did some tour management for a group called Mint Condition between Down Low and Big Woo, and Stokely Williams, the singer for Mint Condition, is just a world-class singer. I mean,
Yes.
he's Stevie Wonder says Stokely is his favorite singer.
Wow.
And so I got to travel the world with this guy,
Oh, that's
So like
great.
that alone, I learned so much from Stokely, just watching him perform. And, we're talking every night we're hanging out with George Clinton or with Charlie Wilson or with Cameo, and like some of the best singers in the world.
Wow.
And so that experience too, I learned a lot from just watching those guys work and just in the wings, working with them every night, listening to rehearse, like, just all the time, taking little notes and stuff. And every once in a while I got to sing with them and stuff,
Oh, exciting. I love that part of being a musician and in the music world is that it seems like that's where mentors really still exist. Even if they don't know they are your mentors if you're just listening to their albums and improving that way. So that's great. You've brought up a couple times your album, The Musician and the Muse, and we're going to play a couple songs from that. And I want to know when did you make this recording? Oh, before we do that though, I want to just make sure that people know that you're from Northfield and that your name's Mark Grunhofer and you go by Mark Joseph professionally. But I just wanted to make that connection for anybody that's listening. So back to your album. Is it all your original pieces?
So I wrote a good majority of it. And then what I did is I took it to Steve McCormick, who is a phenomenal writer and producer. And we kind of took some of the songs apart and put them back together again. So, 6 of the 8 tunes are original songs, and many of the concepts started as my tunes, and then I brought them to Steve, and we sort of did what you do, the great producer and writer, and we blended our ideas together and sort of developed them and added bridges and intros and all kinds of stuff. And so it's listed as a co-write with Steve. There's 2 covers on there. Nobody Knows You When You're Down and Out, classic blues tune from the 1920s. And then also Mystery Train, which is kind of Mystery Train is like this great guitar odyssey song that I feel like all players have their version of it. So I figured I'll throw my take on it in the ring, And then I should mention the Fleetwood Brougham song was written by Chris Castino from the Big Woo. So he wrote that and he gave that to me for this record.
And this first song that we're going to play is called Bound to Be Blessed. And I'm curious about the musicians on the album, who's playing what and on this song in particular.
Bound to Be Blessed has got this great drummer named Phil Bass, who's from Austin, Texas. Steve played the bass on that one. And then, I'm singing on guitar. And then Heather Donovan, Steve's wife, she sings on it. Just a phenomenal singer, world-class singer. And then Toby Lee Marshall on the Hammond organ. Toby is an amazing player. Toby's part of the Cock Marshall trio. And then Steve plays slide guitar and backup vocals as well.
Well, I love the message of this song. What was the inception? What was your idea when you wrote this?
I have a kind of, I don't know if it's bizarre because I think it's bizarre or it really is bizarre, the way I write songs, The way I do it is I sort of, I work an idea out. I muse on it. I'll throw different ideas out there, and I do a lot of voice memos, right? So I'll just record little ideas, and then I'll sort of improvise with it and develop it. So this song came out of a series of those voice memos. I wrote it on piano, and I had this kind of that bump, that kind of feel. That part kind of was coming out, and I just liked it. It reminded me of sort of a New Orleans kind of gospel feel. And as far as the words go, I mean, the "Bound to Be Blessed" line just kind of came out of me in one of those sessions, and then I just sort of took that part of it and ran with it. And then as it developed, Steve and I, when I got to LA and started recording it in LA, Steve heard it and was like, "Why don't you think about it this way?" She goes, "Mark, I think this is you singing into a mirror. You're singing to yourself. It's about self-love. It's about empowerment, empowering yourself, believing in yourself." And then also started recognizing the challenges that are in life, like life is a weird blend of like joy and pain,
Yeah.
I say this in my live shows, like, I believe all people are bound to be blessed, but you got to get up in the morning and get after it. If that makes sense,
That totally makes sense.
Where it came from. Yeah.
And I love that. You got to get at it. You got to get at it in order to grab that blessing. And that is a perfect setup. So let's take a listen to "Bound to Be Blessed."
Don't you cry no more.
This is Pauline Jennings, and you're listening to Musician Talk, hosted by me. You just heard Bound to be Blessed from my guest, Mark Joseph's most recent album, The Musician and the Muse. Well, you said that New Orleans I felt like when I listened to it, I hear an islandy kind of soulful thing. And I guess that can kind of go with New Orleans
Sure.
vibe too. I love the guitar licks. Your voice is beautiful. It's just whatever you did throughout those years with those mentors, you did it right, because I want to listen to more of your singing.
Awesome.
So thank you.
Thank you.
It was
Yeah,
beautiful.
thank you.
I want to get a little more philosophical, as I tend to do, and talk about how music matters and why it's important. And so can you encapsulate how music has mattered to you in your life?
Music is everything to me. It tells the story. It's identify with it in ways that are hard to explain even in words. It's always been there with me. It's something you can lean on. It's something you can find solace in. You can find spiritual transcendence through. It connects us to our human experience. It's a way for us to remain human inside of a world of technology and stress and money and bills and pressure and social ills and setbacks that humans tend to focus on. Music can free us from those things, and it's the common bond to me in life. Like, music reminds me that I don't have to agree with everybody. I don't have to even feel the same way. It's not about thinking or being the same on any level, especially coming out of such a polarizing time period that we've been living in. I'm interested in connecting with you on a soul level. Like, I want to reach people where it matters. And then also the connection of like the artist to an audience, to me, transcends so many of the earthly things that we get totally caught up and bogged down in life. It's hard for me to say any one thing. It's a lot of things.
You've said it just absolutely beautifully. And I love that, transcending our earthly troubles and our earthly worries and our earthly fights and the conflict that we have, like you said, so much right now. Given anything that allows us to transcend that is a gift and a blessing.
Yep. Who's to say what's more important or what matters most or whatever? I certainly don't know. But what I do know is that I find inspiration and I find peace of mind when I connect with people through music. And to me, that's a life that I can live and be happy about. That's a life that I find a great reward in.
So to move on from that those beautiful thoughts, I do want to get to your second song called Nobody Knows You. And you said this is a cover.
Yes. Nobody Knows You When You're Down and Out. Yes, it was written in 1929 and by a man by the name of Jimmy Cox. And it's become a staple blues song. And it's a very popular version that Eric Clapton did. That's the one that I first heard. I've always loved the song because it's got great elements of blues, but also jazz. If you study American music, you'll end up down in New Orleans, you'll end up down south, and you'll end up sort of seeing how it all kind of cooked down there, especially the blues and jazz as we know it today. A lot of people would equate blues to like, oh, it's my experience is a lot of musicians like to sort of say, oh, it's a blues, like they almost feel like they don't have to learn the song, or they assume it's three chords and it's so easy that they can do it in their sleep, which is a common misconception. I will say it. All you young guitar players out there, take note, because it's true. I love Nobody Knows You When You're Down and Out for so many reasons, but I love the blues and jazz blend elements that are there. Blues is not necessarily three chords, and this is a great example of that. And then the lyrics are just classic. I mean, it's nobody knows you when you're down and out. I don't know if that will ever not be true. That's a true statement if I've ever heard one.
Right. And once you start to be not down and out, then all of a sudden those friends start showing up.
Oh, yes. And that is also true. There's a lot of truth in the song for sure. And what great life lessons there. just one of these timeless songs. That turn of phrase is just you can't beat it, you know.
Awesome. And that is great. Let's take a listen to this great mix of jazz and blues in the song, Nobody Knows You When You're Down and Out. Here it is.
All right. Once lived a life of a millionaire. Spent all my money, I did not care. Took all my friends out for a real good time. Bought bootleg liquor, champagne and wine. And then I began to fall so low. Lost all my good friends, had nowhere to go. I get my hands on a dollar bill again. I'ma hold on to it, to that old eagle grin. 'Cause nobody knows you when you're down and out. In your pocket there ain't one penny. As far as friends, well, you won't have any. And when you finally get on your feet again, everybody wants to be your long lost friend. I said it's strange, without a doubt. Nobody knows you when you're down and out. Nobody knows you when you're down and out. In your pocket there ain't one penny. As far as friends, well, you won't have any. When you finally get on your feet again, everybody wants to be your long lost friend. It's mighty strange and without a doubt. Well, nobody knows you.
Nobody knows you.
Nobody knows you.
Nobody knows you.
Well, nobody knows you when you're down and out. That's right.
You're listening to Musician Talk, hosted by me, Pauline Jennings, with guest Mark Joseph today. You just heard the song Nobody Knows You When You're Down and Out. So you said this song was bluesy indeed. And I have to say that you sound like Randy Newman in this song. And Randy Newman is
Wow.
one of my favorite singers of all time.
Thank you.
The backup singers are great. And I'm so
Yeah.
happy that you added that element to both songs. They're in both
Yeah.
songs. It rounds it out. The sound is so full because of that.
Oh, it wouldn't sound the same without them. I'll tell you that much. That's for
right.
sure.
Exactly.
You know, that song, I should mention, Steph Devine also sings on that with Heather Donovan. Steph is one of my true blue. She's been working with me for over 15 years. She really doesn't miss a show. If you come see me with a full band setting, odds are she'll be there.
There's also a saxophone on the song, right?
Yes, and I'm glad you asked. That saxophone is from my guy, Stan the Baron Barons. Stan is a just one of a kind. He played for Willie Dixon for many years. He's playing for Canned Heat, and now he's a current member of the band War.
Wow.
And just kind of a Venice Beach legend. This
Oh,
guy's
lovely.
he's 74 years old. Total rock star. I mean, yeah, so Stan is amazing. And, a lot of people mention that sax solo. It's a very classic piece. For
Yeah,
sure.
it's beautiful. You talked about a lot of experiences very, very briefly, but nonetheless, of playing out with all sorts of different groups and wonderful musicians. And I'm just wondering what you like best about playing live.
Playing live for me is, I don't know, maybe for like a traditional hunter, it would be like the thrill of the chase. It's like the energy exchange between the band. First of all, between us as musicians, because that's priceless. But even if it is me solo, it's also, it's an odyssey. So I'm like going into a musical place, which is always great, but then also sharing that with other people. That's the joy of it, to share it together. Any musician will tell you there's magic that happens when you start playing music with an audience that's listening and receives it. That's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
It is.
Like we talked about earlier, the transcendence element happens, and you sort of, your worries and your concerns of your daily life melt away for a minute, and you can actually sort of focus on one thing for a certain period of time, or share something, communal wonder, if you will. I mean, I don't know.
Nice.
It's a ritual, I guess.
Mhm.
The excitement, the adrenaline that comes with it. Anything you'll spend that much time and effort to work towards to get to do, has got to be something special. So it's just, that whole routine is just, I don't know, I can't get enough of it. I love to play music for people.
Awesome. Yeah, that is great. And kind of segues into best gig, worst gig. And I want to start with
Okay.
worst gig, and we'll end with the best gig. I know you have many best gigs, I'm sure. So
It's always best for the worst gig, it's always best to pick ones that, like, venues that are like no longer open,
right,
Just like,
right.
you
Or
know
that
what I mean?
are
I always kind of,
technical
yeah,
issues instead of
yeah.
bandmates.
You're like, oh, I still got to talk to that guy once in a while. Like
That's
that.
right.
Yeah, oh man, there's so many crazy stories. Back in the day, before the internet, you learn the hard way to call a venue before you show up, because they close down sometimes. We had that happen once or twice. We showed up, and the place was literally not open anymore.
Oh no.
I remember maybe one of the worst ever was we were playing this little roadside dive out in, outside of the Fox Valley, kind of out Green Bay way. And I think it was called the Dugout. And it was just corny wannabe sports bar. Didn't know what it wanted to be. No stage. The
Oh
floor
no.
was, those old baseball video games with the green infield kind of thing, or
Mhm.
whatever. It looked like that. It looked like a cheesy,
Oh no.
old school, like, baseball diamond on the that was the floor. And so I was like playing on like home plate or something. I think we had done, I mean, this is crazy, but it's true, we did three shows that day.
Wow.
And so we were told we didn't need to be there about till 11 o'clock or something. And we got there, and this very intoxicated bar owner thought that we were late, and we're like, no, we're not late though, because this is the time, this is
Right.
what we signed up for, whatever. So one thing leads to another. Pretty soon this guy is yelling in my face while I'm
Oh.
playing.
Oh no.
I don't know if it was about what I was playing or if I was playing too loud. I pretty much tuned this guy out. Having the bar owner yelling at you in your face, like, it's
Oh
pretty
no.
intense. There's a band house next door. I remember that being pretty shady too. A lot of late night traffic going in and out of there too. So
It's one thing to have an audience member get drunk and be belligerent to the musicians, but to have the owner come and get in your face while you're playing, no, 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 no. That should not
yeah,
happen.
it was a night to forget. The other
Yeah.
two gigs that day were actually pretty good. So what do you?
Well,
2 out
good.
of 3, I guess.
2 out of 3
whatever.
ain't bad. That's right. Okay, so let's go to the positive side. What's
Yeah.
one gig that just pops to your mind when you think magic or completely thrilling, over the top?
It's kind of easy to point out this year because there haven't been as many
Sure.
sort of bigger gigs. I don't know. It's kind of weird because it's not always a bigger gig,
Right.
that makes it so special or amazing either. but those are the ones that sort of stand out over time.
Mhm.
They just do because they equate to success, I guess, in some ways. But, this year we played the Big Woo, one of the only Big Woo shows this year. We played at the Whispering Pines Campground out in Eau Claire, and it was the people who put on the Blue Ox Festival with Pertner Sandstone, that whole organization.
Mhm.
They had put together a bunch of very small, socially distant camp out events, and so the Big Woo played that their camp out deal there at the end of September, and we were playing with Yonder Mountain String Band, who are good friends of ours. It was a live stream show. And so there's a little bit of pressure because it was a big, opportunity. We knew we were going to have a large audience via the internet. But
Sure.
either way, the Big Woo hadn't played much that year. We were excited about it all. And it was one of those shows where we just everybody just pulled together and really played a world-class show. I mean, I'm very proud of our performance that night. And
That's
just
great.
coming off stage, it's just that there's no feeling like it in the world when you did it the best you could. Now, there's nights where you, as an individual, I'm talking about a band, when the individual, you did the best you could do,
Right.
maybe there was some other element that was holding you back,
Right.
whatever it may be. But it's really special when the band, as a unit, everybody puts their best foot forward and you just crush it. And that it definitely happened that night. So that one stands out this year. Man, there's been so many good ones. Playing the Mishawaka Amphitheater in Colorado on my birthday. Some 2017, that was a really special one. Playing with Peter Rowan at Camp Maiden Rock out in Morristown for the Big Woo family reunion. We played a whole set with Peter. In fact, I got to play 2 shows with him that weekend. Peter's just a great hero of ours. I've been very blessed to work with so many talented people.
All these great players that you've shared the stage with, that I bet every time it's just so thrilling and special, each one in its own way. Well, we're running out of time here, and I want to get to this Patreon website and deal that you have that just was launched a couple days ago, as I understand it. What is Patreon, and how do people hear you through Patreon?
Yeah, Patreon is a really, really amazing website conceived by artists. On my Patreon, if you jump on board there, we have lots of different levels. There's, $5, $10, $20, $50, $100, $125, all different versions of sort of a subscription, monthly subscription. And with that, there's all kinds of different packages and benefits, rewards you get with that subscription. For instance, I do a weekly stream show called the Mark Joseph Special. And then I'm doing a podcast now as well. So I'm doing a weekly podcast. So there's all these different offerings. And so as part of the Patreon, you get access to all that. And we're going to be releasing exclusive content, exclusive tracks from the archive in there. There's even a level where you can even sit on our advisory board, and we're going to have a monthly meeting. You can actually weigh in on what we're doing with the Mark Joseph kind of organization, if you will. A lot of different interesting elements to it. Yeah.
Great variety that people can get through this kind of a subscription service. What exactly is the website for your Patreon page?
It's just patreon.com/Mark Joseph. Yeah.
Okay.
If you have any questions, of course, feel free to email us, markjosephAmericanSoul@gmail.com.
Your album, The Musician and the Muse, can people buy that through Patreon, your Patreon page, or is there a different place to go to get the album?
All of our merch, like our main merch store, and all of our music is available at the website, markjoseph-music.com. And the merch store is fully stocked right now, so hit it up.
Great. Well, I will definitely check that out. And I encourage all of you listening to do the same. And I just want to say thank you so much, Mark. This has been absolutely lovely. It's been a great time talking to you and really insightful. So thank you so much.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me, and keep doing what you're doing. Thank you for supporting artists and, getting the good word out there. Lord knows we need the help.
Thank you so much for joining me, Mark. And take care.
Yeah, God bless you, honey.
Yeah.
Take care. Yeah.
Bye-bye. Many thanks to Mark Joseph for joining me for this informative and fun conversation. And so many thanks to you for listening to Musician Talk on the One KYMN. Have a terrific day.